So Zan is the grounding agent to make sure that it goes the right way.
So welcome, guys. So, okay, let's start. Hey, good morning, Bella. Good, that's so cool that you could join us. In Brazil, it's 7 a.m., so this is very brave. And it's waking up on Saturday at 7, amazing.
Well, what's amazing is that we have from Rio to New Zealand 7 a.m. and
yeah, exactly.
midnight
And everything
and anything in between.
So yeah, the topic today is, well, in a way, continuing what we did last week, but yeah, this big thing about freedom, what is happening to our freedoms. Before we get there, we want to just kind of touch a little bit on what we did last time. We reconnected our grounding to the proper grounding, which actually has a connection to the earth grid. So we already heard some movements happen in people's lives, things that would not happen for many, many months, started all of a sudden moving miraculously after last week. So it's really beautiful confirmation to hear that that's happening for some of you. And if somebody wants to share about what had happened there, very welcome to give us in few words how it had changed, what had started to move. Just raise your hand if you would like to add a little story there. And the other thing that we will do, so we reconnected the root chakra to the new real grid last time. So today we will talk about freedom. What is freedom, and what is happening to our attention to freedom in this day and age. It is a big topic, and we have been kind of shaken from what we thought about freedom and what we thought about our personal freedoms, because there are certain forces that are right now imposing some rules that we never had to follow and things like that. So in a way, they're shaking us into discussion and understanding what true freedom is. And are we actually being influenced by any of that, or not at all, or somewhere in between?
And on a purely energetic level. So last time we worked on the root chakra. So everything grounding, security, and where are we connected to. And this time it goes for solar plexus, because that's where our energy is, that's where our freedom to move or do, inspiration and drive. And as we're now bravely kind of stepping into the new Aries season, so the new year has started. We're out of the murky kind of uncertainties, and there's a lot of energy coming in. So we must be sure that we have actually a proper tool to channel that energy into our live streams. And that same way that we examined last time where our root chakras are actually rooted, do we even know? Have we even thought? Have we checked? Well, this time we will examine what about our solar plexus? Do we know from where it's drawing its energy, and where is it connected at all?
Yeah, is it connecting to anything? Or we are just generating this energy and then it dissipates? So we will check that for all of us and then do the reconnection if that's needed. Well, when we start talking about freedom, we would like to understand where you guys stand about it. Where is it in your life? Do you feel, how free do you feel at this moment? Are you free? Have anything changed about your perception of freedom in the last year since this whole thing started? And what is freedom for you? And as an example, we can kind of give our example, how what freedom for one of us could be completely different than freedom for another one. So yeah, Lisa, we love to hear from you. An example is like this. For me, for example, the freedom is to have absolutely no, pegging points to anything material. So not owning the house, not owning the car, being able to freely move and not having anything that government can touch. For Evia, you can share what's freedom for you. So
yeah, for me it's the exact opposite. For me, the freedom is being in a space that I have certain control over. Like I have control over the softness of my pillows, the color on the walls, time when I have the breakfast, that nobody is telling from what time to what time am I able to have breakfast with choices of somebody else. For me, the freedom is in these little choices that I can make on daily basis, that I am not told at what time I have to leave the place or what is the color of the sheets, So it's completely different place where my perception of freedom is as opposed to Victoria's. Well, we had fun actually understanding that it's so absolutely opposite that if we actually want to stay together, it's almost the only meeting point would be the mobile home, that I can still have my pillows and Vittorio can put it wherever he wants. I don't mind.
Well, it's, of course, we love to laugh about it because this, what we're talking about now, is only one level of freedom. And we want to understand if you guys understand those levels, because we joke about it because it so doesn't matter. So this one level absolutely doesn't matter comparing to what real freedom is. So we want to kind of take it to you guys and see where you stand with this. So Lisa wanted to speak first, and then we have Uwe and Hannah. Lisa.
Interesting topic.
For you especially, yes.
Yeah. Did you find the topic for you, Lisa?
So over the last several months, for me, as you know, the tangible freedom is very, very important. And the freedom that basically boils down to a don't tell me what to do kind of freedom. But introspection has, it's difficult because it's then having to assess where is that desire for freedom coming from? Losing the fear, losing the fear, losing the fear. And it was only, I wrote to someone only a few days ago, and they were going, rah, 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 fear, fear, fear. And I said, well, maybe my fear for freedom comes from this point when I was about maybe 3 years old, and I climbed into a bookshelf and I got stuck in the bookshelf and never thought that I would be able to get out of the bookshelf. And it's like, okay, let's process that and release this physical need that I have not to be physically constrained. And I have that as well. Like even a few years ago, with the fear, I could never have a sheet over my face. I couldn't have anything on my face because I nearly drowned when I was a little kid. And I had a brother that tried to drown me when I was a slightly older kid. And it's the fear of suffocation that leads to the need for emancipation, like a physical emancipation. But then that juxtaposes with the need for freedom is only in the mind. And living in my van the last 7 months, which is like living in the tiniest little ship cabin, I'm literally squeezed into this tiny, tiny space. So I don't have physical freedom to like starfish on the bed. I've got to like roll over from one side to the other. But within that space, I feel incredibly free. But then the freedom to eat what I choose. So I'm like with Evia with control issues about my, the immediate environment and what goes in. And I so know that. Yes. I have to have my hot chocolate in the order that things happen in the daytime. And it's just, the day just doesn't, I've got to be really mindful that it's all right. Life doesn't end because you've got your hot chocolate at 9:30 and not bloody 8:30. It's okay. But the freedom to be consuming what I want. So I'm nuts at anywhere that I'm going to. I research heavily. Where's the organics? Getting out, chatting to. And so the whole thing of freedom, it's just so convoluted for me. And it is all right, rip it away. Where do you get that? Dun, 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 dun. It's all in my head. But needless to say, yes, I am going to Costa Rica in a few weeks' time because that space feels like a freer space than what the space that I'm currently in. So I'm fleeing again. Right in the freedom train, today and again, have to wake up and drink my hot chocolates at the right time every morning. Anyway.
Yeah.
Lisa, I just realized that you are actually me plus Vittorio combined.
It's not having home and having it at the same time. This is only what's needed. I love it. So cool. Lisa, just a question. So you're going to Costa Rica. Are you going to take you with all these preferences over there, or that's staying in New Zealand?
No, that's the mind mess. It's like when you release that, whatever it is that makes me need to assert my control over a micro environment. So probably not. I'll probably, it's all in the backpack. And it's, oh God, what a mess.
Thank you. It's so beautiful. Absolutely fully human and fully understanding. It's cool that you are actually very being able to see it. So very, very nice. Thank you. We have Uwe, then we have Hannah. Uwe.
Yeah, hello. It's very interesting to hear that being in control or having control. I haven't even thought about that, but can you all hear me well?
Yeah, we hear you very well.
I haven't, like the last 2 years, I really focused on inner work, and I don't feel that somebody has control over me. I feel that I'm fully in control and I'm free. I'm free to move. And I did travel, not so much as I used to, but I do travel. And I think it's how we prepare our inner self. And that reflects the outer world in a way. So I see many people are traveling and I don't feel restricted, to be honest. Also here, and having the freedom, I think that's very important. I feel I have the freedom to live anywhere I want to live. And this frees me really because at the moment, in Bulgaria, now the restaurants are closed, but up to now they were open and it seems like I can roam freely around here. And also due to the inner work, I think that in comparison to the ocean, so I feel I'm the ocean, not the waves or the wind. So like the surface is always tumbling. Whereas I feel, like I'm more in the ocean, so things are more easy and silent, and it feels like content. I don't feel so influenced by what happens around, and regarding to the pandemic, people are concerned or fearful or so, and I think I'm not I'm not into that. I just don't buy in, I guess, and. Due to the inner work, I think that's what gives me the stability, like feeling rather the ocean than the tumbling surface. Mm. And also, I'm just reading the book, The Universe is Talking to You. And I'm looking much more into signs and synchronicities right now. And as I pay attention to it, I see it so often happening every day on a daily basis, that things just fall in place and everything works out in a very good way. And I'm not buying into this tumbling surface anymore as I used to maybe years ago. And that gives me a stability, and I feel free, and I feel okay, I feel healthy, I feel good. And the skiing gives me also the possibility of getting into flow very easily. And so I think it's the matter what we do and our inner, how we preserve our inner well-being.
And would you say in one sentence, Ove, what is freedom for you?
I think for me, freedom is to have the choice. You know, I have the freedom of choice. I can do whatever I like to, and this is what I feel. So I don't feel that the outer influence is limiting me, not at all. So the freedom is, it comes from my inside, and I can choose what I want to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Great, Uwe. So you're already walking as a new model of human. Wonderful. Yes, we will get to that. You have a lot of wisdom in what you just said. Exactly. We'll put it in a context. Wonderful.
We had Hannah and then Anna and then other Anna. Hannah.
Yes, I just briefly wanted to share, because you also asked what happened after the last tea.
Yeah.
And for me, it's actually really like it fits the topic, because right after we did the tea, I met a friend and he told me he was going to leave for a few weeks. So I'm actually, for the first time that I'm in Germany for the last month, having my own home again, my own space, which feels nice that I literally landed. Like I'll have my own 4 walls around me. But in terms of freedom, I felt free before. Like the last 2 weeks, I shared the room, literally the bed, with my friend, and I feel very free. And I think that's what has changed a lot over the last years. Before, for me, freedom was similar to you, Victor, that I get rid of these responsibilities of paying the rent or doing this kind of services of cleaning or organizing and sticking to rules, that I could live and be wherever I want and work in whatever field I want to. But also what is deepened is the inner freedom. So for me, I really don't care. Like I'm lucky that I'm always having nice, yummy food, but I really don't care if it's different than what I'm used to, or different rhythm, or something not organic, or different ingredients that I'm not used to. And I used to be very picky about that. And now anything is pretty much fine, and I'm feeling all right with it. It's not that I feel like my health is impaired. Just the only funny thing that is coming up in Germany, that I feel less free in terms of inner resistance coming out of my true expression. So I have this example that I, after Evia pointed out this platform for musicians to broadcast music, to sell music, to just engage with a different kind of people. And I kind of pushed myself, because I know if signs are coming from you or from Evia, I should listen even more without it coming 3 times. And I felt a lot of resistance putting myself on that platform and freely express. For some reason, it made me nervous. And usually in Bali, I'm not nervous at all. I kind of am happily excited, looking forward to the event itself. And this time I had to really push through. So this is kind of coming up, that I feel a little bit more restricted and really freely expressing. And that's part of freedom too, that I can literally be whatever I want to. If I decide to be a dancer tomorrow, or I don't know, a painter the other day, that I have the freedom and confidence that this is worthy of presenting and sharing. So that's kind of a big part of the freedom too, that I can express what I feel. And yeah, so that's a little bit sticky still.
Mm-hmm. And Hannah, would you please share the fact that you actually are having a concert tomorrow? and please share the link. So that's amazing that you gave the whole speech about consent and never once mentioned that it's actually happening.
It is.
And guys, attend, please. Hannah, I mean, if you don't share, I will share. Put it in the link here, put it in the group, put it everywhere. I mean, Angel is singing tomorrow, guys. Go and, you know, have fun, join in. It's it's a cool new platform.
Hannah's music
try it out.
Magical, and really you got to experience this. It's complete heart to heart. It's really, really amazing.
Thank you. I will.
So guys, join our Telegram group and send it there if you want. Whoever is not on the Facebook group, I just let's have that link everywhere so we can connect to it.
Tomorrow, what time, Hannah?
It's at 12. So 12 European Central Time.
So German.
Yes, and we're switching the time. So I guess it's 6 p.m. Bali time. Yeah, not 7 hours anymore.
We can all check whatever is 12 noon at Germany at your place.
And even more, Hannah, I think you had a song about being free, who you want to be, something along those lines.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah. So maybe you can put it in the menu for tomorrow. I'm free to be who I want to be.
Yes, it's actually planned to be the first one.
Voila.
Telegram group, guys, is in your email. In your email that you received about this in the PS section. I don't know it by heart, so I cannot share it here in an email. Okay, so we had Anna Belgrade, then Anna Switzerland. And then we have
Miriam and Bella.
Miriam and Bella, yes.
So it's me now, huh?
Yes.
Okay, I thought a lot about it since yesterday I read about the topic, today's topic. And yes, I see many different layers of freedom, beginning from some freedom, which is basically some human rights that we are deprived of, basic human rights that we don't have now in big cities. You know, right to breathe, fresh air, right to hear a bird and not just noise, you know, and traffic and noise, basically. Right to eat healthy, etc., and to move and to do normal things, you know. So in big cities, at the moment, we don't have any of that. So for me, it's definitely for quite some time, freedom is the right to go and live where I want, trying to go to live where I want. That's one big thing that is, I guess, starting to open finally. And what I wanted to say. Yeah, for me, very important is the also layer of freedom is to be able to have a kind of life where you can do with your time whatever you want. Use your time in the way you want and not have to work for 8 hours, not have to have obligations all the time, like we were led to believe for ages that we have to do this, we have to do that, and we end up I end up doing everything I have to do for whole days, months, and years, you know. So I think the freedom to take time to live slowly and to do with your time whatever you want, to meditate, to listen to the music, to walk, and to that's the freedom for me, to live where you want and to do with your time what you want and to have enough of everything that you need to pay to without stress, without having to deal with institutions. And yeah, basically that's freedom for me. To be free, to be creative, not to hurry anywhere, to be in the nature, to live where you want, how you want. That's the freedom for me.
beautiful. And it's very interesting in your sharing. Thank you, Anna, that there was like two words coming together. Freedom was interchangeably used together with right. So we have to look a little bit why is right understood in the same way as freedom. So we will cover that. So this came up, and it's a little bit of a mix up, what is freedom and what is right. So we will cover that. So yeah, thank you. Nice sharing.
Yeah, and just one more thing that I realized yesterday evening was the connection to my feeling of freedom, and that it is really connected with also with my feeling of power or empower. When I'm, when I'm something like in Egypt, in some beautiful place, when I arrive to live the way I want, where I want, and feel really good, then I feel also in my whole power, and vice versa. When I'm stuck in those obligations, stress, city, etc., I often feel really without any power, victimized. So I think there is that connection, freedom, power, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. So Anna, you pointed it out. This is the link to the solar plexus that we wanted to bring in. That the freedom and the power, they're all coming from solar plexus, and they are limiting your drive, possibility, or ability to create and move forward.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that actually I'm giving a verbal note so we don't forget we will talk about what comes first. Does that power comes first and then outside circumstances, or are we allowing outside circumstances to interfere with our power? So this is going to be an important part of this sharing. So we have Anna, thank you. Anna 1 and Anna 2, Switzerland. Yeah, it's your turn.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. Like, especially with Anna, I could really relate, maybe because I also live very close to a big city where basically last year was quite challenging for me, especially because I find many of these restrictions stupid. I don't find any other word, because basically I feel like they really go into my freedom of what I think health means for me and how I support my own health. So basically, I really feel like under the guise of health, they actually try to strip people of healthy immune systems. But anyways, I actually wanted to start in another way, because I have this idea of freedom that is very much connected to my lucid dreaming. And I know in these dreams, when I become fully aware that I'm dreaming, this is where I feel actually most free, because I can think myself into a place. I can imagine what I would like to create. And then round around the corner, my creation is awaiting me. And I feel like, oh my God, I can just admire the world that I'm in without any fears. So there, I don't have any fear, because I know it's only a dream. And I just smell the roses and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's just so amazing. And I don't think like, oh, how do I earn my money? How do I get my food? So all this worries is gone. And this is where I feel like absolutely free. And then coming back to physical body, I like, my nature is actually I feel very free spirit in my nature, in my thinking. So I was never very prone to believing propaganda, because I was always very connected ever since I was a child, also very connected to the sense of right and wrong. And this was very developed in me. So physically, I definitely feel more constrained in the last year, as if I was telling it last week, as I could imagine baby, like when the baby grows in a mother's womb, it becomes constricted at some point. So this is how I feel, that it's time for me to actually for the birth. That's why the last session was so amazing also for me. And I truly feel that I am birthing into like a new version of me with like empowerment. That's the word that's coming up, where I am much more empowered than what I used to be. And so physical freedom, definitely being able to choose what I eat, what is put into my body, where I move, how I dress, where I go without any constraints of like, I cannot afford it or it's not available. So this would be my physical freedom. Then at some point I discovered, because I was so free, I thought, and then I discovered my own programming in my mind creates prison for me, meaning that psychologically I am not free because there's so much restricting me there in my own mind. And yeah, and something really interesting happened last week. My sister said something like, she was showing me a dress she bought, and then she said, I will wear it in the summer and it will be so beautiful. And it triggered me and really gives me goosebumps, because it was like it triggered a memory where we were already together in another life. And she was telling me this, and it never came to be because the situation was difficult, maybe war, I don't know, but like very melancholic kind of memory. And then I really slipped into this melancholy, and then suddenly I thought like, oh, but there we are again. So even, you know, even if I have the idea that anyone outside can take anything from me, including my own life, no, I'm here again. You know, they didn't manage. So so that was very powerful, and this is where I want to go more, like basically connecting myself so much with my spirit that whatever happens on the outside doesn't influence me at all, because I'm so free in my spirit.
Well, this is amazing, Anna. Exactly. Yeah, really amazing discourse. This is exactly what we are going to. This is like the understanding of freedom for the future. And this is exactly what we're going to be doing. All of us getting to that place where we are completely untouchable by what's happening outside. So yeah.
Exactly. It's just beyond beautiful to see that the seed is working through everybody's consciousness. You know, Uwe has already digested and sprouted into that, you know, rooted into that freedom. For others, it's, you know, this fighting against outer inner freedom. It's magnificent, and you know, it's present in everybody's lives. You are just a sample, really the beautiful sample of what's going on in a society, but this same thing is going on within everyone, not everyone, but most of the people that are questioning the current state.
Yeah, we are being kicked in the ass to get closer to that, to find that door. So don't forget what you wanted to say, both Eve and Ola. We have Miriam, and then Bella, and then Eve and Ola. Miriam.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I listened to the rebirthing yesterday, so it's still fresh for me. Really excited about that. I think what is important to me, because when you ask about freedom, I do feel free in even the things going around the situation right now. Holland is also still in lockdown, and it's a little bit crazy. But I do feel free in that. But what does feel a little bit restrictive is freedom of speech. And that is something that I feel some anxiety with. At the same time, I did create a new website to speak more and to express more. But it does feel that it's a little restrictive, freedom of speech right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I understand. We will definitely cover that. Bella.
Morning, everyone.
Hi.
So wonderful to be here. Thank you for changing the times. Appreciate that. Yeah, I didn't want to miss this freedom one because it's a really big one for me. I guess it's probably one of the like the topic that I've been really working on for the last in just like self-development in general, and realizing how big of a topic it is. I feel very much that freedom is about just being what I want to be. And often I feel like some other people mentioned that society does not allow us to be whatever we want to be sometimes. And even though I feel that inner freedom that Uwe was describing as well, so it's a mix, but at the same time, I feel like often when that inner freedom translates into some kind of materialized being of something that's different from what society expects of us, then obviously we get in some ways reprimanded, right? So I guess ignoring that has been really difficult for me. So I guess this translates to all levels of freedom, right? Freedoms of speech, that's a big one for me that's been coming up. So like voice, expressing my voice that might be different from the opinion of others. Freedom also, like the traveling and being in wherever I want to be. Obviously, that's really restricted for me in the last years. And, we're questioning like, where is, for example, yesterday I wanted to take my daughter to the beach and it's closed off. So I'm like, well, it's nature. How are we not allowed to be in nature? Why is it the government's responsibility to tell us not to? Anyways, like these kind of freedoms, right? And then freedom of, also taking care of our health. That's a big one for me. What it means to be healthy, that shouldn't be defined by someone else, but by our own inner, what our body tells us, or what, whatever it is that we feel that we need to do. So yeah, that's a big one. Also like freedom in relationships, what it means to be free within a relationship, and what it means to be kind of, there's just so many definitions, right? Right now in our society of, you can do this and this if you are this type of person, right? So I guess I've been questioning everything, what it means to be free in our society. And it's been
I think we are losing connection, or it's on my side.
ex-Soviet Union. So that's like a big thing for me. Like it's just like breaking away from ties of what they put in my mind. So there's this whole thing of the mind is a really big one, right? Like you should do this, you have to do this, so just really untangling that has been a big thing for me. So thanks again.
Yeah.
Exactly, Bella. All of that. All of that. The infinite number of freedoms available and freedoms non-available. We'll look at it.
This is beautiful. I think
Thank you.
We need to get into the sharing. Do we have time, you think, to have Eve's and Ola's sharing, or we jump right into it?
Yeah, let's hear everyone, because it's a big profound topic that matters, because you see how different perspectives we have here.
Yeah, great. So Eve, please tell us.
I'm just going to say straight off, I'm a bit nervous. I struggle to share sometimes. So if my voice is wobbly, it's just my vibration, trying to find its balance. But
we love you, Eve. With or without wobbly voice. Don't worry.
See, I'm going to come at it a very different perspective, because I'm a mother. I have 4 children, and I have spent the last 4 years trying to redesign our family lives to provide them with as much freedom as they can. So pulling them out of mainstream school, giving them a different way of learning and living. And I'm someone that kind of grew up, you know, wanting to fight against, you know, I don't want any rules, don't tell me what to do, I want to have my opinion. And I've kind of raised my kids in that way. But, you know, sometimes that can backfire, I can tell you from my experience. You know, I've got, to an extent, some little monsters, you know, who kind of want to control the entire home. And now I'm actually having to kind of pedal backwards and rein some of them in, because the freedom is now being exploited. And it's actually not, you know, like I'll do a Spider-Man quote, is like, you know, with great freedom comes great responsibility. And this is something that my children haven't actually acquired yet, the wisdom of what they can do with their freedom. A few years ago, you know, I'm always trying different ideas in my home, and we gave them what was known as Freedom Thursday. You know, they're 21st century kids. At the time they were at school, and, you know, as everyone knows, you know, screens is a thing for 21st century kids. And I was testing a theory that if I gave them full exposure, as much time as they wanted, unlimited time, that they would naturally find their own equilibrium about how much they wanted. I mean, the first day of Freedom Thursday was like, they set their alarm for 4 o'clock in the morning to get on their screens, and they didn't get off until 10 o'clock at night, you know, and I had to kind of stand back and go, okay, I've set this up now. It's a, you know, and I let that roll for like a few months, waiting, praying, they're going to find it. They're going to stop. They're going to feel the illness and the headaches, and they're going to, you know, but in the end, as parents, we had to start putting in measures to say, right, first you have to brush your teeth. First you're not allowed them before 7. So we actually had to introduce all these limitations for their own well-being that they weren't able to kind of, you know, find in their own way, as much as I was praying, but they didn't have a way of understanding that. And I guess it's something for me. And also, you know, with 4 children, how do I balance their needs and my needs? You know, because it's not very free being a parent of 4 kids. You're limited on where you can go, how much money you have, where you can, you know, so how do I mean, I struggle with 6 of us to find that balance. And it's, you know, on a global scale, it's a very challenging thing that, you know, that people are running here. So yeah, it's like, I feel very free. We have a very nice life, but I know how my children feel limited. So it's a really interesting topic that needs to be looked at on multiple perspectives, I think, to really understand. And also whatever's coming up for us, any blocks that we're experiencing, I think what I'm finding through my own journey is that once I break free of this particular experience that keeps looping me, keeps me stuck, as soon as I kind of ground the experience and integrate the lessons that I've learned, like a new opportunity presents where I get like one more step closer to what I deem is freedom, I suppose. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Wow.
Awesome perspective.
So wonderful. And we have to remember to cover this, because and Evia will share what it is. But of course, kids don't yet know what to do with full freedom. So up till at least 16 years of age, 15, or something like that, they are really under your understanding of freedom.
And I'm wondering, to an extent, how many humans around the world are still actually at that age and under. You know, we've got a lot of children who have never really fully integrated, which we've talked about, you know, through the Meet the Parents, which is why maybe, unfortunately, we're kind of like waiting for them to grow up. I mean, this is kind of like what we're stuck in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I went through your journey with my kids, being democratic and, you know, counting on responsibility. And then I had to switch from one day to the next and say, no, full on dictatorship. My rules until 21, I decide what and how and everything. And I found that actually they were functioning much better within my limitations, because they had to find their freedom within my you know, borders that I set for them, what they can, what they cannot. And that actually created huge bursts of creativity. I mean, more I restricted what they can do, more creative they got to kind of find a way through. You know, I built the fence around them, and then they got really talented in finding a way above, under, in between, and it developed so much more senses.
So interesting. Ola, you wanted to share?
Yes, I do. Thank you, everybody, for having me. It's my first time after so many attempts, and I apologize if I disappear. I'm at work, but I will intend to come more often when I'm not at work. And that was a very long time to see you, Victoria, so it's really nice. And I think I've been drawn today, especially because of, yeah, I know, the topic of freedom. It's such a complex things. I'm very glad that you separated the right and the freedom that you mentioned, that this is two different things, because they're very easy to get mixed up. The kind of physical level of freedom, my main thing is the freedom of movement, you know, and we're speaking from the level of having injury and not being able to do what you usually do, and working tones and all that frustration, plus the, you know, the lack of travels. And I think, and I rely to many shares. Like, I grew up in Poland, still remember the soldiers on the street in communist government, and we wasn't allowed to go anywhere. You know, it was completely different upbringing till what's happening now. But what I believe for me is freedom now. The most important essence is, through my spiritual journey in the last 5-6 years, the way I free my mind from the old programs, from understanding the program, be able, even if I get caught up in some vortex, I can get myself out of it, and being able to become the observer. And I managed to be in a few very like kind of big things happening world, and trying to be above them. Don't take any sides. This is where I feel the most free. It's very difficult because there are certain topics who really get me reactive still, but there are few where I remember this feeling of like levitating when there is this big debate somewhere and people going and biting each other, and I just feel like above and don't take any sides and just be an observer. And, you know, this has happened for the better good. It's difficult. We current times, I have family in Poland who is now in a third lockdown. It's really difficult watching them and applying my free mind. It's like a training. It's like climbing the mountain, you know, like a mountain of my brain. And it's very, very big for me. And I freedom of speech, you know, always come here in a place because I want to be able to say what I mean. Sometimes it's not worth it, but sometimes it's really becoming, you know, we're not able to say everything at the moment so freely. There are channels now, and, you know, people trying to go these alternative ways to actually speak freely. So this is something what is a little bit alarming for me, you know, I would say, but it's a very complex topic. It's so many levels of freedom. So I hope we can cover more and maybe like do more free teas.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Ala. Nice to.
Thank you. I'm very welcome.
Yes.
Very, very welcome. You know, you'll be surprised. I hope within the next half an hour, you will understand how this huge, immense topic of different freedoms will actually collapse into two very simple concepts. And I hope we'll manage to all get there.
Yeah.
So let's have...
Anita wanted to share. Okay, let's have this one more sharing. Anita, go ahead.
Yes.
And then we'll jump into it.
I just do shortly because I think there is not so much time. So actually about my freedom, it's a very special question. So I moved, I was living in a big city in Budapest. It's a wonderful place, but before free. And then I moved with the pandemic to the countryside. And I feel a bit restricted, but physically I'm feeling that I can lead a healthy life here. So it's just my choice to take a walk freely in the forest wherever I want to go. I can do sports, yoga in the garden, everything. So physically I feel free, but mentally it's the opposite. Mentally I absolutely not free, because of course all these restrictions and Hungary, and especially we can't speak up free. I cannot, of course, for me, freedom means that I meet the people who I love to meet, and since 1 year I cannot. And I really miss all my friends to be with together, and of course the other part is the work that you follow that work and you live from whatever you love to do. And that's what the most important pattern in my life that I want to follow, because in the present it's a lesson for me that I'm still not doing the work what I would like to do, and that's what I want to change, and I'm gonna feel much more free.
Thank you for sharing, Anita. Especially thank you for understanding that the psychological unfreedoms are still there. So it's good to work on them first. So beautiful sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well. So in this Beyond series of teas, we're actually looking to dissolve any ideas of anything we ever knew about these big topics. So when we want to look what's beyond the word or concept of freedom, we actually have to examine, is it even real? Is it even a thing? Because we're born in this world, and these big concepts are just put on our way and said, okay, when you can do it means you're free, when you cannot do it means you're not free. And we have never really questioned, is it so? And where is this barrier sitting? Because the freedom and non-freedom is just a barrier. It can be close to you, it can be far to you. Those who like me, who feel offended by small rules, I have a very personal barrier of freedom. Those who feel offended by there's not enough trees in the city, like Anna, or not enough birds and fresh air available, so their barrier is somewhere else. So for each of us, it's completely different. But when you examine really, is freedom to have more or to have less? We can't even define that. For some people, freedom is to have more money or more friends or more things. For other people, it's exactly having the opposite, having less responsibility, less possessions, less interactions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, less contact. Yeah. Less of family around. Some people, freedom is when you're thriving with your tribe. For other people, they're free when they're sitting in a cave. So we don't even know if having, is it freedom to have a car so that you can go anytime, anywhere, and you're free of movement? Or is the freedom of not having a car? So you are not attached to where to park it, expenses of maintenance, or the model that you are stuck with because you can't buy another one. So for every question, if you really start looking at it, you will find that the only thing that defines your personal freedom is the limitation, and it's the limitation beyond which
perception.
Yeah, it's perceived limitation beyond. It's the idea of the feeling that is beyond your current limitation, right? If you don't have money, this is the limitation, and you think the freedom is beyond that line of your current financial situation in the more money that you might have. If you have too much money and it's keeping you entangled with things that you can't handle, there's a line of limitation, and the freedom lies beyond that line, where you have no money and no responsibilities. Yeah. So basically, let it sink in. The freedom is the line that you draw between your current state and the one that you don't have.
And the one that you feel with this perception that you don't have.
Yeah. And, you know, what it actually boils down to is that really freedom is only about the amount of available options to you at this current moment. Is the amount of available options. When we could travel, like let's say last year, did everybody traveled extensively to all corners of the world? But now, just because Zimbabwe is locked down, you feel like you absolutely have to go to Zimbabwe. Or that now you would visit the whole family worldwide. Now you want to do the world round the world trip, yeah? Just because you can't. It's like the kids always wanting the thing that they are not allowed to touch. There is this drive that we feel offended that some of the options that we wouldn't use anyways are suddenly disappearing, you know? Like you might have a concert.
Again, because against all of these lockdowns, it's completely possible to travel wherever you want. And I'm the testament to this. So it's literally just always think that it's in your perception. There is no other thing than this. There is no other reality for you other than your perception. So yeah, go on.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you live in a democratic country, you still feel that you don't have enough freedom because you can't fully, I don't know, be transgender. Even if you're given the right to be transgender, like, you know, I want to have a freedom to become a man. Well, suddenly I happen to be in a country that says, okay, go on, you can actually legally be transgender. Okay, if I do that, what is the next? What else can I imagine to test? It's like the kids, this unlimited pushing to see what else can I have, and actually looking for those limitations that will bounce you back to grow. So
I have another example of this because it's an important point to actually take. So it is fear of losing freedom that then you actually act on it and waste your valuable life energy. And this is all we have. All we have is life energy in order to engage fully with life. So if I waste it, for example, if my freedom, it feels to me that I can travel everywhere I want. And I'm starting to get more and more passports so that I belong less to one government, but can have services of different governments. So, you know, let's say I can have 2 passports, but I can go on and keep adding and have 7 passports. I know people who have 7 passports, and they will never use probably more than 2 or 3 at the max. The rest of the time that they invested in this project is completely wasted time chasing an idea that was just an idea of their perception of freedom. So that's that box. That is that cage that we, at some point, it starts wasting our time and energy. So go on.
There are millions of ways to waste your life energy in pursuing the freedoms. And, you know, the classification of right and wrong is actually giving it some sort of empowerment. We know there's no right and wrong, that everything is just right. But this pursuing the right way, that who just mentioned that your idea of freedom applies to people who are not free. This is how, you know, European governments have messed up everything in Africa, because they export their idea of democracy and freedom to people who are not ready. It's like giving Eve's kids the freedom, and they just go for it, you know, and they don't grow. They go for the freedom, but they don't grow out of it. So the limitations are only showing us where things need to be addressed inside. So limitations of all kinds are actually healthy indicators. And when we waste our time pursuing, increasing our available options, let's say, we want to live in the freest country that gives us the most possibilities of all kinds. And then we're still looking for more and more and more options, where actually we will never use even 1% of those options that are presented. But somehow the idea that some of those options are being closed makes us feel uncomfortable. Let's say we live next to a concert hall or cinema that we think we are gonna go, but just because it's not available, we feel like it's missing, like we're missing having it.
Yeah,
So,
we know all this living in a town. We usually don't even go and explore it until the guests come, and then we take them to the places that have been like 2 blocks away, but we never went to actually visit them before that. So that's an example of this. So this is, I guess, one aspect that we talk about, and this is increasing the resolution of your perception in so-called horizontal freedom. So this is horizontal, going further. You can imagine it as a building, and it has floors, and each floor of a building is one of the frequencies on which we exist. So we can say most of us who shared here, and most of the people on the planet explore just 2 floors. 2 floors of perception, 2 floors of reality. One floor is my body, which includes everything. I am pretty, I'm beautiful, the other, this woman is ugly. You know, I'm muscular, she's fat. You know, like I'm healthy, she's sick. You know, this is the level of the body. And the other one is role. The other floor of reality is our roles. Do I make enough money? What is my role? What is my profession? What is my social status, my country? All of this is my roles. You know, so like this is other. And most people live between these 2 floors. And all of the freedoms that they talk about are freedoms on these 2 levels of reality. There are, if we start fighting for freedom, we have mentioned something like breaking free. Like we need to break free. That expression, breaking free, means we are going to forcibly go against the current limitations on this level. But guys, there is an elevator in this building that goes up and down the floors. So instead of fighting and actually breaking free horizontally, we can go just behind us and find where the elevator is and go up in the consciousness level and completely be beyond the level of perception that is on these 2 floors. And this is what Anna has mentioned in her dreams. She's completely unbound by any of the laws. So she has complete freedom to roam however she wants and has her own cosmic laws. Well, people who have been enlightened masters, they are on completely different level, and they don't judge any of the outside happenings. They are in complete bliss, drunk with happiness and bliss, and everything is fine, whatever happens to happen around there. Our problem though is, and we can reach some of that, you know, in different ways. Some people use psychedelics, other people use deep meditations, some other, like Anna, use dreaming. Nobody is there to say that this dream world is not more real or equally real, at least, as the 2 floors that we mentioned. Mm-hmm. So what we choose for our life is the level that we are most interested in. But as Anna has shared, she says, yeah, but I'm in a dream, then I have to go to the real world. The only reason why this world of the second level of the roles is real is because we have been bombarded by that information as we were growing up. And we have been bombarded now because there are people who have vested interest in brainwashing us, in believing that this level of reality is like materialistic, what is it? Dialectic materialism. That's what the science is attached to, and nothing else exists. So there is vested interest in keeping us in the cage of that level.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom goes through the elevator and going up to the higher levels.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Evi.
And I would just add to this. So imagine that if you're looking for any kind of freedom on this horizontal material level, breaking through the first wall of perceived unfreedom, you will only find the next wall to break through and next wall, and there's no end to it. You can never find freedom on this level because what you're actually breaking through is your own perceived limitations. Mm-hmm. Let's say if you wouldn't need anything, like what could be taken away? What could be shut down? Yeah, if you don't perceive the need and you are just in peace with who you are and you understand that you are exactly where you have to be, and you know there are good reasons for that, as Uwe said. So this when you have to break free, what you hear actually is you're putting brakes on your freedom by trying to break free. Yeah, because you're doing a physical action that will lead only to the next level of frustration. And that is putting the brakes on where the real thing is happening, on the going up the elevator.
I would like, if I may now, tell me, Evie, if you had another train of thought to go. I would just experientially how going up to the next level feels like.
Yeah, exactly. So just to make it sure that we understand that on a horizontal level, no matter how far you push the quest for freedom, and no matter how many options you have gathered, it will never feel free because it's not there. It's simply not there. So breaking out of anything is ignoring that limitation, which is actually sitting inside and screaming to be addressed. Yeah. And you have seen in the sharing, like Hannah before, she had one kind of need of freedom, and now she doesn't have those anymore. That means the internal walls have dissolved, so outer walls are simply not there.
Yeah, it's easy to imagine this elevator as an elevator in the building because we are just used to that concept. But what it actually is journey deeper and deeper within. So the elevator actually goes deeper and deeper within, and from within comes the higher and higher inner freedom. Because when we start seeing in our experiential reality from this other level of seeing the world, all of a sudden what seemed to be unfreedom, we just see so many other options. We were not able to see them because the resolution of our looking couldn't see past those limitations that were there. So experientially, I would like to show you, those of you who know this drawing will have to bear with me, but I'm going to show you the picture of a young lady. It is a drawing of a young lady that we see from semi-profile from the side. And she's in a beautiful coat with a nice hat. So that's what I would like to show you. So here it is, right here. I'm sharing the screen. Just tell me if you see the young lady. So she's from semi-profile, looking a little bit, we see her ear, and then the feather. Do you all see her? So yeah. Do you see anything else? What do you see in her? So a young lady, of course, this is her nose, her eye, this is the feather, and her chin and all that. So when we come and find an elevator, it is like now understanding that on this picture, actually, there is also an old woman. So this is one eye of an old woman. This is another eye. This is her big nose right here, yeah? And this is her mouth, and this is the scarf. So this is the nose of an old woman, 2 eyes, mouth, chin, and the scarf. So do you see an old woman? So this is what we call a shift in perception. All of a sudden, so when somebody keeps brainwashing you from your childhood that you are going to see the young woman, all you can see is a young woman. You cannot really see anything else because you expect to see this already. So this is happening so much, very masterfully now on this level in the world. They are putting your attention towards some seemingly huge world event, and all that you're able to see, your perception matches what is being explained to you that you're going to see. So, you know, talking about so-called pandemic and so-called world crisis and so-called what is going on that floor, yeah? So when you step into the elevator and see from above, all of a sudden you see both. You see the young woman and you see an old woman. And there is no force in the world that from this level can tell you now, oh, there's only young woman, there's nothing else here. You're not seeing everything else that you see, it's your illusion. You know, it's like your psychological state. If you see the old woman, you have ADHD, you have, I don't know, post-traumatic stress disorder, you have this and that. But you know, in the hearts of your hearts, both are possible. And from now on, you have the broader perception of the world. I have one more example for you. And it's this. Those of you who have been to US, they know that this is a logo of Baskin Robbins, BR. Baskin Robbins are people who make ice creams. So if you look at this, you see BR, yeah? But what's still in here, hidden, is the number 31. 31 is 31 types of ice cream that they are selling. So from this point, I have never seen this until years later, Evia showed me this website where they explain the double meanings of the logos. And now I cannot ever unsee 31 first when I see this logo. I don't see any more BR, I see 31. So these are those examples, what you have seen first. And when you see this other level of the information, nobody can persuade you anymore that there is only one thing going on.
Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is that you never actually saw that 31 that is now standing in plain sight. And how
I have had these stores all around me wherever I turn. I have seen probably hundreds of these stores. I have never seen anything other than BR until somebody pointed out, well, there is 31 in the middle. So that's the shift in perception. This, what you lived now when you also saw the old lady, this is what it looks like when you step into the elevator and go to the next level of reality. All of a sudden, completely new set of options open up for you.
So from this perspective, you know, let's take freedom of speech. We're very attached to freedom of speech, being able to communicate our truths and all that. And we're so attached to that it has to be that way that we don't see what is the real meaning behind. So we think that freedom of the speech is being able to tell what you think at any given moment and not being shut up for that, yeah? And actually, we really live in the times, there haven't been more freedom of speech ever on this planet than it is now. We're not like, maximum we're banned from Facebook for saying our truth. We're not burnt at stake immediately with the family going with it. So
yeah, let me just explain a little bit. When you say I don't have a freedom of speech, this already is your perception, because you sitting now in the room can say anything you want. So where is the limitation? You have all freedom of speech to tell whatever you want right now. What you meant is somebody is shutting down my possibility to say these things on Facebook and Twitter. Well, but if you have this perception, I can say everything I want, but somebody is shutting down those vehicles, all of a sudden, oh, but maybe I can start a new vehicle and kind of share with people that I care in a different way. And when you look around, these are popping like mushrooms. But if you disempower yourself in thinking that you are not free to speak, you will not speak. And that's the problem, because you have your mouth, you have your brain, speak, it's right there.
And, growing up in Latvia, which was also severely kind of restricted, anything Latvian was very restricted. And Russians were censoring every word that could be said a little bit against or around the Sovietic dogma. So Latvians didn't speak, they sang. They just sang. All the wisdom was encoded in songs. So, and the Russians, they translated literally, the songs had like absolutely no meaning. They couldn't understand a word because it was all figurative. Yeah. So, and the Latvian national song is, when you can't talk, you sing. Sing your soul out.
You are so beautiful when you're singing it. Would you?
What?
Would you sing one of those? Just, it's so touching when I hear you sing that. Would you share just a little bit so that they feel how it is?
Well, I don't know if it's topic appropriate, but the main idea is that if you have something to say, the Latvian song goes like, whatever you want to say, sing it. Those who are on the same string, on the same frequency of heart as you will hear it. They will understand. So don't worry about not being able to transmit a message, because actually what freedom of speech is doing, and when it's repressed, your words are hurting closed minds. Yeah, like when you're banging, oh, the virus doesn't exist, you're all gonna die from vaccines and all that, it's hurting people's minds. They're not ready to hear that. They're not ready to shift out of their perception. So you're actually actively hurting them. Yet, if you have something to express, what do you want to say with that freedom of speech? If you have a message, there are a million other ways how to put it in the grid, including wordless communication. You can just beam it out into the world. You can sing it out. You can paint it. So if you feel restricted in your speech, look, what is the next way? If you really have a message, there are other ways. And when you take this elevator, suddenly you will see how you can practically get your message across, which is not only that one which is being blocked. Plus, if you pay enough attention, you will see, if you feel restricted in your speech, there's something to be seen there. Why are you so attached to that format? Where and in which situation is it limited and blocked? And that's where you'll work on it. Yeah, I mean, check out women in Saudi Arabia and their level of freedom of speech, yeah, and our level. So there's ever increasing freedom that we're claiming, but when we hit the barrier, that's where we stop and look, maybe there's another way.
To the next level. Buckminster Fuller, if you heard of him, American scientist, amazing genius, has said something, and it's like, you don't fight against the current state of affairs. You make a new invention and make the old obsolete. So everybody just go to your new thing, how you're doing things. And this is exactly, guys, what we are doing here. We are creating a new world, and we are creating new ways to do things. And the old world has seen that there is no way anymore to control the future. So they have this panic way to put the whole humanity in panic to try to hold on to how it used to be, it's completely futile. It's not going to work. But temporarily, what it does is it wakes us up like heavy as kids to improvise under the current temporary limitations and kind of raise ourselves up with the elevator to the next level of doing everything that we know. And that takes getting en masse, completely outside, distrusting everything that were our old notions, our old attachments, our old preferences, erasing all of this and imagining the new world completely. The more that we do it and the more that we radiate that version of the world outside, and we close ourselves to, you know, like the trumpets that are telling it how it is. It's so locked, it's so impossible, we cannot do anything. It's just kind of, okay, whatever. And create and beam and live, experientially live on that new higher level. This is how we create the new world. And this is actually then what we start following. And then whoever is in our field feels this and resonates with us and trains into that frequency.
Mm-hmm. So I had a prophetic t-shirt that I was wearing for a long time. On the back, it said, test your limits. And on front, it said, and go beyond. So I would rephrase it saying, meet your limits and go beyond. Meet your limits wherever you feel that. For Anna, your 4 walls are your limits. Okay. So meet the limits and acknowledge, okay, so I think I'm limited by my 4 walls. Well, guess what? Let's go beyond. And you're not making a hole in your walls to kind of make them fall. You don't destroy your apartment physically. You meet your limits, acknowledge them, understand, okay, so I have built a little perimeter in my head, apparently, that keeps me locked in. Literally, if you feel stuck in your apartment, imagine that you have a bucket on your head. That's all it is. It's not more than that. So meet your limits, examine them, understand, and go beyond. If you cannot go forward, go up. Yeah. So there's always a way, and every limit means there's no need to go further and break through in that way. That means a new and better way is waiting for you. You just have to stop and look at it. Every great invention has been created under the pressure of limitations. There's never a time where you're sitting in your full freedom and thinking what you could invent new and beautiful. Mm-hmm. You always need some kind of limitation to raise out of it, and not break out of it, but raise out of it with a new creation. For example, how electricity was invented, it's a limitation of the day ends at 4 p.m. in Northern Hemisphere. So it is a limitation for anything you want to do in the night. So electricity came as the breakthrough technology to compensate for, these dark hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Another example of this is beautiful pieces of music, like there was the sonata form, and within sonata form, the beautiful and amazing geniuses have created such soul-moving pieces, including at the end Beethoven, who started breaking the form because he needed to break it, not fully break it, but he broke some parts of it to even go beyond, but the form was there to inspire them. Then the modern art came, and a lot of all the old limitations have been broken. And then we have, like painters like Malevich, who paints white on white. Okay, so there's like no more limitations that, okay, so now we're going to paint white on white. So, it's like, then we go into the mind tripping. It's far from being as inspiring as what happens is when you actually have some limitation and you work within them, until you come to the point where it's needed to break it, then you break it with the purpose. So yeah, there are many examples from history where limitations were actually inspiring to create something new.
So from this understanding that we don't need all possible freedom right here and right now, and it's probably not even the point, and you can understand that shift in perception is that all these restrictions, perceived restrictions, are actually very beneficial for every single person on earth to meet their limits, to examine them, and to find the ways out of them. If we feel that government is crushing people, we only can take responsibility for ourselves. We can't apply it to people in Poland who have the third lockdown, or people in Africa who don't have running water. We cannot export our need of freedom as it is for us onto anyone else, not even to our family. My family is not looking for the same kind of freedom that I am looking, you know. Their limitations are actually a safe space. They feel good within their limitations, and they're not. And if I'm trying to break their limitations, they freak out and actually, you know, go away. So don't ever try to break somebody else's limitations. Let them be. When they will feel suffocated, they will find a way out. They'll find where you are to help them out. But don't ever break somebody's eggshell just because you think it's time to get out. Let them be, let the world be, let everyone be where they want to be. Lisa, thinking about your guys who wanted to get vaccinated, let those who choose that to, you know, they are bringing it upon themselves. We're all into individual timelines, but collectively, we're being pushed through this narrowing down of options into the direction, either we will really pop up and take that elevator massively, or people will be continuing breaking on a horizontal level and trying to push their freedom there. So this is the point we wanted to show, that you are not fighting on the right plane for freedom.
Yeah.
The only fight there is how to get to more and more of awareness.
Yeah, how to find the elevator and go up. On the horizontal level, it is already densely inhabited, and usually the forces are well trained to actually operate on that level. So it's like, you know, trying to fight, no matter how much muscles you have, against a person that has weapons, you know. It's like really a little futile to go that way. But if you go to the next level and go completely beyond them, they are obsolete. So that completely doesn't work. And I can even illustrate a little bit, you know, how we are conditioned to not be able to leave the floor of the body. But the really experienced meditators, Buddhist meditators, you know, like stupas, when they opened some of those stupas, they found nothing, just few crystals. What actually happened is that the monk was walled inside. When they built stupa, they were meditating and completely meditating themselves out of the body. And what had stayed there is a little puddle of water. That's it. And it evaporated. So now when they open, there's no body, there's nothing. They have just meditated outside of their body existence. So those things are what we are capable of. You know, just go to another level of existence altogether. But of course, this is not where our attention is being focused to. We have to do that research ourselves and to actually learn how to get to those other levels. So just to illustrate you that even now it's available to you to get out of the body. So who is going to then scare you with some possible disease? Who the hell cares? We're just kind of getting out of it and then coming back if this is what we decide to practice. So just one illustration where it can go.
So this freedom usually goes together with feeling of empowerment and disempowerment. If you have freedom, you feel empowered. If your freedom is limited, you feel disempowered. And that's where I mentioned before, we have different levels in which it's happening. So for example, me, I don't feel threatened by global lockdown or travel restrictions. I don't perceive any disempowerment on that plane of existence, but I do feel extremely triggered and resistant when I have to go in where this arrow points, you know, you can only enter from one door to the shop and you have to go out the other door of the shop. Or they're telling me that I can't take my pendulum on the plane because I might kill someone with, you know, a pendulum. So I react to the pettiest little, you know, person telling me what I can or cannot do. Yeah, where actually close the world, I don't care, you know. And so for me, it's on a very, very small resolution or small level, and it's attached to the solar plexus. So the more we feel the earthly things, like the one that immediate next thing that your delivery doesn't come on time, or the delivery guy doesn't feel like getting to your letterbox because he's not in mood. So the power of the little one is what gets me to react and feel, makes me feel disempowered. When another human like me takes it, you know, takes my freedom in their hands, for example. So I have to work on that level. For somebody else, it's more of a mental idea of things they can't do, although it's not even visible on a physical reality. So everything that has to deal with this is in a solar plexus, and it is being constructed in a way to keep your freedom in institutional hands by binding the power of solar plexus to notions like money and, you know, your ability to do things. So for example, fear of institutions, or fear of police. Yeah, where do you feel it? If you see a cop, like normal person sees, is being stopped in a car somewhere, or in Bali, you know, the man in green stopping you on the roadside, and we know what they want. Yeah, where do you feel immediate reaction before even you can think, am I afraid? Am I not afraid? Your solar plexus churns. If someone would just come, like police comes and grabs you right in the street, you haven't done anything, and you know you haven't done anything, but you would churn, the solar plexus would react to that. So there has been, you know, a manipulation going on, attaching the same way as we were attached to a synthetic Earth timeline. Well, our solar plexuses have also been attached from day one to institutional grid of power, like a centralized disempowerment unit. So what is really essential now that we're moving into our cosmic state of being, it's essential to really roll it back. Imagine, I always imagine that solar plexus like, you know, this extension cord that you plug in and it goes on a roller like this with a little handle. So I imagine that sometimes, you know, my solar plexus is plugged just in the wrong plug and giving electricity to, you know, some government building. And as soon as I realize it, or in a police building, you know, as soon as I realized this, we had a funny, I'll just quickly share a funny little incident the other day. So I have never been stopped. I have never been restricted in my movements, even in the worst of the lockdowns. And just the other day, we were stopped by police because curfew is at 6. I was like 6:20 on a mountain road, kilometers before the house. So a ridiculous little situation. Police stops us and we don't have, you know, the paper, whatever, why we're outside at 6:20. So it's an outrageous situation if you think about it, that you're outside of your house in a 21st century in peace in France, and you're being asked, what are you doing on the street at 6:20 p.m.? And, you know, Zane completely, I don't have this. And she already like, oh my God, started sweating and becoming red and all that. And I was just, you know what? I unplugged the plug from police station, you know, and said, you know what? I didn't know about it. And I just, you know, calmly said, I don't know about it. You know, it's 6:20 and I'm here. So, you know, you might as well not lose your time. And we just continue our way. And the policeman was somehow not ready for like a calm and chill, completely out of topic conversation. And they were like, okay, next time, you know, get the paper though. I said, okay, thank you. And we're all done. Zane was trembling, and I was like, that's all there was. Yeah. If you understand that your extension cord is plugged to give the energy to the place that you are not particularly willing to support, plug it out. That's all there is. Plug it out, roll it back all to yourself, and look where to plug it in now. Because this is what we actually haven't checked somehow weirdly before. Like, where is our extension cord plugged? Is it permanently plugged somewhere? Do we plug it here and there, depending on, you know, who asks for it more? Are we plugging it into our neighbor, into a needy person, into a greedy person, into charity? Where do we plug our solar plexus? Where do we plug our main life force that's unfolding? Or do we plug it into our own being and in the multiverse of reality that we live in? So that is the question that everybody needs to ask. And if you realize that you're plugged in the wrong place, well, then quickly do the move, unplug it, roll it back, and, you know, we'll do a little exercise that will help you actually give you an option how to look at any situation of power in your life.
Yeah. So
and of course, fear is the institution screaming, plug it here, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, here, be afraid of me, of me. Give me your power, me. But your ultimate freedom is to say, no, I don't think so.
And that reality, you know, in this little incident with police, reality shifted right before our eyes. And, you know, when we calmly continued rolling, Zane was like, what just happened? You know, because they are very eager to put the fines, you know, to teach you a lesson or to give a comment. Well, actually, literally nothing happened because they didn't even understand, like, where do I come from, what I'm talking about. And, you know, that me didn't make sense to them. So they just got rid of the whole thing. So this is how situation changes immediately when you do not plug your power into where you don't want it to go.
Yeah, when you speak from the higher level of frequency. And really being on higher level in our experience is that you don't really encounter these things as well. It just doesn't happen. At Evia's previous trip, they not only didn't check her PCR test or whatever, they also forgot to even ask about the passport. She just kind of entered the country, nobody even asked anything. So, you know, it just completely corresponds to the level on which we vibrate.
Yeah.
So what we propose to do is a little meditation where we actually collectively unplug our solar plexus from wherever it might be plugged and plug it. I'll show you where we plug it to here. We plug it to the center of our galaxy, galactic center. And we grow our bodies to actually grow into the solar system and grow over that and become as large as our galaxy, and then vibrate on the level of the whole galaxy. So imagine that the galaxy is this super benevolent, conscious, complex being out of whose chakras are its stars and planets. And our little Earth is one of the minor chakras there. So we plug our solar plexus right into the center of the galaxy and see what happens.
Yeah, so the Earth, you see the sun is a tiny little speck in that scale.
Right
so
here.
if sun is a tiny little speck, well, Earth is a dust. Yeah, just to give you the perspective. So when you will imagine to zoom from your body to that scale and back, yeah.
So would you like to go ahead and do a little meditation together? Okay. So when you're ready, let's close our eyes. Take a deep breath and breathe out everything that had happened today thus far. Take one more deep breath. We breathe out all the thoughts that we have right now. And one more deep breath. And we clean our energy from everything that had happened today. And now sit comfortably in the chair or sofa where you are and feel the connection of your body with the surface on which you are sitting. And take your attention and put it right into the center of your third eye. So it's between your eyes and all the way back to the center of your head. Imagine a little speck diamond shape in the center of your head, in the pineal gland. And now slowly move this diamond from the center of your head into the center of your throat. Just feel how it feels to be there. In the center of your throat, you can look left and right and spot your shoulders. And then we take it with the next breath. We take it one floor down into the center of our heart. And feel the beautiful diamond right in the center of your heart. How does it feel to be there? It's soft, energetic. And with the next breath, you take this diamond and go all the way down to the center of your solar plexus. So if you know where it is, just feel it there. If not, you can slightly touch your belly button and then feel in between, right in the middle of your body, approximately at the level of your belly button. That's where the center of your solar plexus is. So from this place, just feel a little bit how it feels to have this diamond right in your solar plexus. And from this place, you take the cord that goes from your solar plexus out. And you can imagine that it goes in front of you and back from your back. So it goes in the front and in the back. And with the next 3 breaths, we will breathe it back in. Imagine like in a vacuum cleaner when you press the button and the cable comes in. So with first breath, we pull it in a little bit. With the next breath, we pull it back in even more. And with the next breath, we pull it in completely. It's unplugged. And it's completely overlapping with the little diamond. It's fully inside. You're free to plug it now wherever you want. So with the next 3 breaths, we will expand our body to be ready to plug our solar plexus to the next place. So with the next 3 breaths, we are raising our body to the side of solar system. So first breath in and blow your body bigger to encompass the whole earth. With the next breath in, you inflate your body even larger. It encompasses Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And with the next breath in, blowing, we encompass the whole solar system. So just feel how it feels to be the size of solar system. Sun is exactly when your heart is, and the rest of the planets are orbiting around it. Just feel that size. The solar system is inside of you, and your grounding plug is in your solar plexus. And now with the next 3 breaths, we go even further. We are inflating our body to the side of the whole galaxy. So the next breath in, and blow your balloon of the body to encompass the whole galactic branch where our solar system is. Another breath in, and we inflate to the half size of the galaxy. And the third breath, and we grow the size of the whole galaxy. So we are really huge now. We encompass the whole galaxy. You can imagine that it rotates right in front of you. And we see the galactic center, like on that photo I showed you, right about the size and the height of your solar plexus. So now you can take your palm and take in your hand this diamond and physically plug it into the center of the galaxy in front of you. Just plug it in this huge shining center of the galaxy right there. And to forge that connection, let's take 3 deep breaths in, and with the breath out, forge this connection solid. Another breath in, even more solid. The third breath in, and the connection is fully plugged. And with this sound of the glass, I am forging it completely in. Our connection to the galactic center is made. Feel the huge power surge that comes from the rotating galaxy, Milky Way, and infuses your body. And just feel for a few seconds this hugely empowering vortex of energy that is coming into your whole body through the solar plexus now. And remember this feeling. This is from where your power comes now. And just keep feeling it for a little while longer. It's like a volcano of energy coming into your belly button and completely geysering on the other side as well. Or you can turn it in the front and it geysers in front. And so we embed this galaxy inside of the center of our tummy, and that's where it's going to stay. The energy geysers in front and in the back equally. And so now when you're ready, with the next 3 breaths, we travel back to Earth. First breath in. With the breath out, we are in the center of the sun. Next breath in. With the breath out, we are around Earth orbit. And with the next breath in, we quickly land right where we are sitting. And we are back in our room. And slowly, when you're ready, you can open your eyes, keeping that Milky Way galaxy firmly embedded in your solar plexus. So when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Welcome back.
And while you're in this cosmic feeling, always remember that you are multidimensional beings at all times. So the only part that is concerned by these limitations is your human part.
So keep this feeling, keep this connection to the Milky Way is in your tummy. And literally, when you come to talk with somebody next, you can experiment. How does it feel when you are aware of the Milky Way in your solar plexus? Maybe bathe them a little bit in this vortex of energy coming from your belly button towards them, while your words are tickling their monkey mind. Just kind of play a little bit with talking on two levels. You speak your words, but what you really speak is the energy from your belly button. That's your real speech. So practice this, having those double mouth, one that talks to the mind and another that is overwhelming with this beautiful cosmic energy.
And yes, Eve, one of our next topics, it will be beyond human. And we will cover this, what it means to be multidimensional. And now you had a little taste of, there are several parts of you operating at all times. We're aware of that one channel, which is playing the human part. Nevertheless, others are existing simultaneously at the same time. So as humans and being aware at these times, we have to find freedom within the limitations. That's the nature of our human experience, and we have accepted these limitations, including the body, which is a limitation of our multidimensional being, so to say. So the point of the whole game of being human is meeting the limitations and going beyond. Going beyond is going vertical.
Elevator. And this is the clue to the multidimensionality. And actually, we are working on putting together the experiential workshop where you guys are going to be able to actually experientially go up and down this elevator. Many of you can already do it in the meditation, but we will go even deeper.
So from Uwe, who has already reached this state of inner peace where outer things don't really bother or matter, to those who experience limitations of some kind, really meet every limitation with gratitude and look at what it points towards, what it evokes. And as Lisa, you already shifted things around and you said, oh, great. All my unfreedoms are actually a good fuel, a good drive. So use it, everything that comes your way, use it for your evolution. And that's the biggest shift you can do if you are using your unfreedom and your limitation to propel you into even more expansion.
Have the the Mission Impossible, and I love it. And I've had Mission Impossible on loop in my head since I started playing it on the piano. So it's just awesome. It's like dun 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 dun. Bring it on, Limitations.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you see, anything that life throws at you, well, use it in your way. That's the true freedom, is when everything becomes material that you can do something with. Yeah, nothing is there to bring you down. Everything is to bring you up in whatever form and shape it comes.
So yeah, without any preferences, meeting that happens and comes to us as, oh, it is here. Let's just do something about it. Let's engage with it, engage with life. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we had for today. Anything else, Evi, or we conclude here?
Well, we conclude on this, that finding freedom within our limitations is where how we want to go on. And never forget that everything is just a matter of perception. Keep in mind those Baskin and Robbins, old woman, young woman, that when you're able to see the other side of every situation, that's where you can only laugh about it. Yeah.
And keep this galaxy that you have now in your tummy. It is going to come very handy in everything that used to be challenging situation before.
So the next shop attendant that will tell me to put the mask on the nose, I will expand to the size of the galactic center, and not take it too personally. Yeah, because when you see the scale of things, it's really nothing to be too worried about. So in the meantime, check out Hannah tomorrow so that she can experience singing on an online platform, reaching maybe next level of freedom to be anywhere outside of Bali too.
Yeah, I will also copy that link on our Telegram channel, and let's connect there, because not everything that we share is going to be Facebook appropriate. Like that code from last week, I wouldn't share it on Facebook. So this is more for us who have experienced it. And so that's it, guys. Thank you for being here. So beautiful to see you and to be able to raise to these levels together. And we will include you very soon. We almost opened the doors to Club of Life. You will all be invited to come and join us, because there we will have a platform where we can all create and play on this level. And, forget about anything that's below that.
And Eve, put some limits to your kids. Squeeze them into becoming more creative.
Yeah, well-meaning ones, of course, creative ones.
So that they can go beyond, yeah?
Much love, guys.
Mwah.
And see you next week. Mwah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Much love.
Thank